I have headache.
How long have you had those headaches, Sam? Been a long time?
Since I killed a kid.
The most mysterious killer in America. We're diving into the terrifying details. The Zodiac Killer.
Zodiac, a symbol that now stands for terror in San Francisco.
Now turn your lights off, sit back and enjoy. On December 20th, 1968, two victims were found brutally murdered on Lake Herman Road, California. David Arthur Faraday, 17, and Betty Lou Jensen, 16, both of which were shot with a .22 millimeter. People were shocked and police started investigating, but what they didn't know, that a serial killer will turn the next 2 years into a living hell for them. Now, as we always do, let's compare what we saw in the movie with what really happened. How many people did the Zodiac claim to have murdered? In his letters, the Zodiac serial killer claimed to have murdered 37 people. However, there are only 5 known victims. David Faraday, 17, Betty Lou Jensen, 16, Darlene Ferrin, 22, Cecilia Shepard, 22, and Paul Stein, 29. The attacks occurred as follows: David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen on December 20, 1968, along Lake Herman Road in Vallejo; Darlene Ferrin and Mike Major on July 4, 1969 in a parking lot in Blue Rock Springs Park in Vallejo; Cecilia Shepard and Brian Hartnell on September 27, 1969 at Lake Berryessa near Napa, and taxi driver Paul Stein on October 11, 1969 in the Presidio Heights neighborhood of San Francisco. Did a woman narrowly escape the Zodiac by jumping out of his car while holding her baby? In the movie, Kathleen Johns, I-1 Sky, is driving on the highway when a man starts honking his horn and blinking his lights at her to get her to pull over. He tells her that her wheel is wobbling and that he can fix it. However, instead of tightening the lug nuts on her right rear wheel, he actually removes them. When Kathleen tries to drive away, her whole wheel spins off. The man then tells her that he can give her a ride to a nearby service station. In real life, the man took her to the Richfield station at Chrisman Road, but it was closed. According to Kathleen, the man then drove around for an hour and a half or more, passing station after station. Whenever Kathleen would tell him to pull in, he replied by saying that it was not the right one. A police report states, she said she was very scared of this man, did want to get out, but did not tell him to stop the vehicle or let her out. When Kathleen asked the man if he always went around helping people like this, the man apparently responded as he did in the movie, "By the time I get through with them, they won't need my help." After more driving, Kathleen made her escape when the man stopped the car short of a stop sign. Holding her baby tightly, she ran across a nearby field and up an embankment where she hid in the shadows. After about 5 minutes, the man drove away. Kathleen was soon picked up by a passing Samaritan, and taken to the local police station in Patterson. There she recognized the man from a composite sketch of the Zodiac Killer on a wanted poster. A sheriff's deputy found her car completely burned and still smoldering. In his July 24, 1970 letter to the San Francisco Chronicle, the Zodiac claimed responsibility for these events, including setting fire to Kathleen's car. This is the July 24, 1970 Zodiac letter. Did a police officer really spot the Zodiac Killer after the taxicab murder? Yes. The officer who was inside the police car, Don Falk, told ABC's Primetime in 2002, "When the headlights hit him, I took a look at him. It was a white male and he came down the north side of the street and turned and went up a flight of stairs into a courtyard." As revealed in the movie Zodiac, Officer Falk didn't stop the man because the initial police bulletin reported that the suspect was black. Moments after Don Falk passed the man, the dispatcher corrected her description of the suspect to say that it was a white male. In a letter sent to the San Francisco Chronicle approximately 1 month later on November 9, 1969, the Zodiac murderer confirmed that Officer Falk had spotted him. Did the Zodiac murderer really mail a piece of the taxi driver's shirt to the San Francisco Chronicle? Yes. 3 days after the murder of the taxicab driver on October 13, 1969 in Presidio Heights, the Zodiac killer mailed a letter to the San Francisco Chronicle. Included in the envelope was a piece of the taxi driver's shirt tail. This is the Zodiac speaking. I am the murderer of the taxi driver. To prove this, here is a blood-stained piece of his shirt. On the night of the murder, 3 young witnesses had observed the killer from a nearby window, as he entered the front passenger side of the cab. The police believe that this is when the killer took the pieces of the driver's jersey. He sent 2 more pieces of the taxicab driver's shirt to other newspapers. Did the Zodiac really call Melvin Belli on a KGO TV talk show? Yes. The caller, who is believed to have been the Zodiac, wants to be addressed as Sam. Melvin Belli, who is portrayed by Brian Cox in the movie, was a famous personal injury lawyer. Melvin Belli's clients included celebrities like Zsa Zsa Gabor, Muhammad Ali, and Sirhan Sirhan, the convicted assassin of Robert F. Kennedy. Did the Zodiac killer really threaten to kill school children? Yes. In his October 13, 1969 letter to the San Francisco Chronicle, the Zodiac wrote, "School children make nice targets. I think I shall wipe out a school bus some morning. Just shoot out the front tire and then pick off the kiddies as they come bouncing out." The 2007 movie's director, David Fincher, grew up in the Zodiac area of San Francisco during the time of the attacks. As a 7-year-old boy, Fincher can remember police escorting his school bus. Fincher said in a USA Today interview, "I know what it's like to be afraid of your neighbors." Did suspect Arthur Lee Allen really wear a watch with the Zodiac's symbol on it? Yes. The movie shows Zodiac suspect Arthur Lee Allen, John Carroll Lynch, wearing a watch that bears the killer's symbol and the brand name Zodiac. The real Arthur Lee Allen wore an identical watch, the Zodiac Sea Wolf watch. Robert Graysmith commented on this in an interview. To use the symbol, to wear that watch, and to be at the crime scenes and to know the victims, he would have to be the Zodiac. Did Robert Graysmith really come face to face with Arthur Lee Allen at a hardware store? Yes, but not exactly how the film portrays it. At the end of the movie Zodiac, Robert Graysmith, Jake Gyllenhaal, comes face to face with his prime suspect, Arthur Lee Allen, inside of a hardware store where Allen works. Graysmith described the real encounter during an interview with Rope Off Silicon. "I'm following around in an orange VW Rabbit and I park outside of Ace Hardware, and obviously he's seen me from the big window and so I'm parked and he pulls alongside me, so I can't get my door open and he gives me this look like you wouldn't believe." In addition to his parking lot encounter with Arthur Lee Allen, Graysmith attempted to obtain a sample of Allen's handwriting by sending friends in to buy things at the hardware store in Vallejo. Allen worked at the Ace Hardware in Vallejo for over a decade until complications from diabetes forced him to quit prior to his death in 1992. How can the case ever be solved if Arthur Lee Allen died in 1992? On August 26, 1992, Allen's kidneys succumbed to his disease. Brain tissue was preserved from Allen's autopsy, and it remains available for DNA testing. How does Graysmith explain the 2002 DNA test not matching Arthur Lee Allen? While working in a San Francisco crime lab in 2002, Dr. Sidney Holt discovered a fingerprint on a stamp affixed to one of the Zodiac's letters. Holt said, "I found a partial DNA fingerprint from a male individual who, at some time, has had contact with the stamp. When she tested the partial DNA from the stamp against Arthur Lee Allen's DNA profile, she discovered that Allen was not a match." This result did not convince Robert Graysmith, who believes that the letters may have been tainted by investigators who handled them over the years. Graysmith also believes that the Zodiac letters weren't accurately preserved for DNA testing, given that they endured 100-degree summers in plastic envelopes for a duration of approximately 30 years. Even in those days, Graysmith said, "If I were going to write an anonymous letter, I'm guaranteeing, especially if Zodiac wore gloves, he would never lick a letter." Graysmith's reasoning for this is that although there was no DNA test back then, there was a saliva test that could determine a suspect's blood type. What was the status of the Zodiac case in the past years? 3 Zodiac letters that were lost for 20 years surfaced in 2002 during research conducted by ABC for its primetime news program. The letters were tested for DNA, to see if a DNA profile can be built, to be compared with millions of other profiles in national databases. Detective Matthew Meredith in Vallejo, CA, believed that the DNA from the lost Zodiac letters could finally lead to some answers. Meredith said, "Hopefully, it will turn something up, and if it doesn't, this is kinda stirring the pot, and we'll see what floats to the surface." Are there any other likely Zodiac suspects besides Arthur Lee Allen? Yes. As the movie Zodiac emphasized, there were 2,500 suspects in all. What initially drew Robert Graysmith to Arthur Lee Allen was something that a Stanford professor had told him. Dr. Lundy at Stanford said that whoever the killer is, he will have offered to catch himself. When Graysmith called investigator Dave Torski, he asked Torski if he had ever received that type of letter. Torski replied, "I only got one, I just got it." He takes it out and it's from Arthur Lee Allen from prison, and it says, "Sorry I wasn't your man, blah, blah, blah." Circumstantial evidence then began to mount against Allen. David Fincher's movie, which is based on Robert Graysmith's Zodiac books, concludes with Graysmith's belief that Arthur Lee Allen is the man responsible. It should be noted here that other high-profile Zodiac suspects have existed since 1968. Some of these suspects are briefly focused on in David Fincher's 2007 Zodiac movie. They include former San Francisco movie projectionist Rick Marshall and others. In the movie, Robert Graysmith is alerted to handwriting similarities between Rick Marshall's movie posters that he drew and the handwriting in the Zodiac letters. Marshall's association to classic films could also link him to the Zodiac, whose costume at Lake Berryessa was similar to the costume worn by Dr. Zodiac in the 1933 film Charlie Chan at Treasure Island. Is the true identity of the Zodiac killer revealed? Yes. On October 6, 2021, it was revealed that an independent group believes the Zodiac killer was a man named Gary Francis Poster, who died in 2018. The independent group, called the Case Breakers, is made up of 40 law enforcement officials and researchers. If true, this is an important breakthrough in the decades-old Californian case. After over 5 decades of investigations and many implausible theories, the Zodiac killer's identity was seemingly revealed to be Gary Francis Poster. Unfortunately, Poster passed away in 2018, meaning it is now impossible to question him.
Thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If that's what happened, smash the like button and subscribe to the channel for more true stories.